Hey, my name is Dwight Bernier. I am the Network Director of Acts 29 Canada, and this is our last session. We've been going through this event, this 6-session event called The Calling, where we looked at initially, why are you here? Why are you interested in this? Moving on to the gospel, developing leaders. We had something around doctrine and spirit. We then looked at what it means for have a global mission, and now we're asking the question, what is next? And this is supposed to be a much shorter session, very pointed session about what is next for you. It's like the moment of indecision is over and done with, right? You know too much. It's like you can't go back. So what are you going to do with the reality of what you know? What is the Lord actually calling you to? What does he want you to do next? So I want to help you discern that now. Just want to say a few things, talk about opportunities, and then we'll be done with this. And then if you're called to do this, then the hard work really begins. You've just been taking this in so far, but now the hard work begins of building relationships, beginning the process of moving towards assessment, being coached, trained, finding support, all those things. So let's begin this discernment process together. There's 7 places you can go with all this information. Number 1, pray. Pray. So many people neglect prayer. I mean, we all do. None of us have our best prayer life now. Our prayer life heats up when things aren't going well, when we're experiencing trauma and suffering, and also in key moments of decision like this. So allow for this inability to fully know what you're supposed to be doing to lead you into prayer, and then stay there. I would encourage you to take a day away, a weekend away, a week away, if you can get that. Go to some sort of silent retreat place, or go to a retreat, or visit a place where you can be with people who have planted churches. There's not some sort of retreat center with church planners like hovering around that. You'd actually have to go and build relationship with people, but you're welcome to do that. In Montreal, we have people that come here often that are discerning what their next step is, and they come and spend time with us. But be praying. Be praying about this. Pray with others. Invite others into this journey with you. Just because you're having people pray about it doesn't mean that you're committed to it completely. But pray, are you willing, are you open to say, Lord, here's my life. If you want to use me to plant a church, I'm all in. Second thing is, talk to your pastor or your pastors about this. And I hope that this is a good idea. I know that there are some people who have approached their pastor with the idea of leaving, and immediately the pastor is thinking like tomorrow, and sometimes people have just been let go. So hopefully this is a good idea. Be wise. You know who your pastor is. If you're on staff, that illustration that I just used was someone who's on staff, not like a church member that was saying, hey, we're just thinking about planting a church. It's like, get out of here, never come back. Not that. But be talking to your pastor or your pastors. And understand this, some of your pastors might not be in the same place that you are in terms of multiplication. All right? But it's not ultimately up to your pastor. And I say that very humbly, gently, right? You don't need to renegade against your pastor if he doesn't agree with your decision. But ultimately, it's not up to the pastor. If the Lord wants for you to go, he's going to send you. He's going to confirm that. And other people can come alongside you and confirm that as well. Don't create an uprising or an insurgence. Right? That's not the calling at all. But do talk to your pastors and give your pastors time to process. Okay, some of them might be gung-ho, and you're meeting the vision that they've been talking about, and they've been looking for you. For our church, if you're in our church and you're a church planner, we want to know that. We want to invest in you. We want to send you whenever the Lord is ready for that. And if your pastor doesn't get behind this because of an inability, like not knowing what to do and how to train you, or what avenues of leadership to give to you, well, then have him contact Acts 29 Canada. We would love to walk with him and the church. And that leads me to my third thing, training. Training. Here's the question. What if you could train guys to plant churches without ever sending them somewhere to get trained? What if you could train guys to plant churches without ever sending them somewhere to be trained? And I would say you can. You can. Acts 29 Canada has partnered with SEMBEC and Northwest Seminary to offer a program. It can begin when you're a brand new Christian, and then it goes all the way up to a vocational level of training where you can actually earn a master's degree, all within the confines of your local church. You can get all of the competency-based education right there. This is what we developed. We developed a thing called the Academy. I don't know if we've changed the name on that or not. Literally, I don't know. I just keep calling it the Academy. But basically, it's based on 11 competencies. And these are the competencies that we would assess someone on to plant a church. If you're going to be a pastor, you're going to need almost these same exact competencies. So this training isn't just for church planners. It can be for anyone that wants to go into full-time vocational ministry. But this is an accredited program, and it's made for part-time people. It's made for part-time people so that you can keep your job as you're discerning what it is that the Lord wants for you to do. You can do it full-time, but some of it doesn't really matter if you're full-time or not. You're going to need time to work out some of these things. So one of the assignments is to read the Bible completely and then fill out some information. You can only read the Bible so fast. And then another assignment is to teach that to someone. So it's going to take time for you to accomplish these things. It's not just about getting through the training. It's about developing the character, competence, and conviction of a church planner and someone that's ready to go out and do this. So on a part-time basis, depending on where you're coming from and what competencies you already have, you can plan on this being a 2 to 5 year process. One of the things with training is that it's so theoretical, isn't it? That we just get theory, and what we want to do with the Academy is take the theory and marry it to the practical so that in real time you're learning the theory and putting it into place. When I spoke on developing leaders, I said, you have to give people opportunity to fail. People who are going through the Academy, we're giving them opportunities to fail within our local church. The Academy is also really affordable. It's super cheap, super cheap. You can't get a seminary education for this price, and you don't have to really go anywhere either. So it's affordable, and this can start from wherever you are in your journey with the Lord, and wherever you are location-wise. In fact, your whole church can be part of the Academy. That's what we've done with our church, is that we just consider that we have a Church 21 Academy. And from new believer up to people that we're sending out to plant churches, we have this pipeline of leaders that are being developed and formed. It's still rough around the edges. It's not perfect. It's not super easy. It does take some work, but it's good work. I think it's a work that the Lord wants for us to be about. So if you are a potential church planner, talk to your pastor and tell them about this training as well. If you're a pastor wanting to have a leadership pipeline within your church, you don't have to become an Acts 29 Canada church necessarily to have this training within your church. And it exists in English and in French. The fourth thing that you could do is you could be assessed. If you're going to plant a church, you need to be assessed. You absolutely need to be assessed. Remember in the session on leadership and having leaders, we talked about that reality of blind spots. You have so many blind spots that you don't know. You need to be assessed by people that understand what it's going to take to plant a church. They're for you. You're going to be assessed by people who love church planting, who will love you, but who are going to dig in. And I don't just mean like asking surface level questions. They're going to dig into your character, into your competence, into your conviction, into your marriage, into your past, and not in like a weird, spooky, creepy way where they're digging for dirt. They want to see, is there anything down here that's going to cause you to train wreck your life, your marriage, your kids, or the church plan, as far as we can tell in this assessment. So our assessment's a fairly robust process. Lots of guys don't even make it through the written assessment part, let alone getting to the face-to-face conversations. I remember the Office episode with Michael Scott as he walks in to the office and he says to Pam, "I want to adopt a baby. Can you look into that?" And she begins describing just a micro process of getting a child, and he's like, that's too much work. right? That's what so many people are. They love the idea of church planting, of doing something new, but then you give them the work of just being assessed, not even the work of planting the church. And they're like, man, that's too much. And we just look at that as if you can't take the time to fill out the assessment, there's no way that you're going to take the time to really plant a church, because you don't care enough about having people speak in and learn about who you are and help you. So there's that. We really have 3 tracks for assessment. One, if you're like, I'm not sure that I'm ready or want to go to assessment at this point, we have something called the Pathway to Assessment. It's a 2-year process. You're in a cohort, and over those 2 years, you're reading a lot of material, you're discussing it together, and you're preparing for assessment. And if after year 1, there's a clear, yes, I want to keep going toward assessment, then great, you keep going. And then no, I don't. Well, they help you get off that track as well and invest in you a little bit more, but not toward church planting any longer. So it's like we're inviting you into that. If you're interested in that, you can go to acts29canada.com/thecalling, and you can fill out that form and say, I'm interested in the pathway to assessment, and we will get you connected to that. We have an assessment for a church planter. We really like to do that 12 to 18 months ahead of when someone is planting, but we can do it at any time, really. And then we have an existing church. We have existing churches that join the network because they're existing churches that want to keep planting churches, and they want to be connected to other churches in their region, area, country, and the globe. And Acts 29, just one of the outstanding things that I've benefited so much from as a church planter is being connected to people around the world, because we're thinking about not just local issues, but global issues. And it's a beautiful thing. You don't graduate out of the network. This is why existing churches can exist alongside of brand new church plants. And the nice thing about existing churches and church plants is that usually existing churches have budgets for church plants. In fact, one of the things to be in Acts 29 is that you have to give 10% of your overall offerings from day one to church planting. Now, you can define what that is and what that looks like, but 10% has to be set aside for expansion of the kingdom, not just expansion of your coffee area in the church. And so churches are looking for church planters to support, and church planters are looking for churches to support them. And so it's this nice marriage between church planting and existing churches. The 5th thing you could do is maybe you're a church planter and you're like, I need some coaching. Well, we love to provide coaching. We have a 2-year track for coaching as well, and it's very specific on the project. We assess the person and the couple, if you're married, and we coach the project. So yeah, we'll focus 25% on character, competence, conviction, but 75% of our coaching is really on the project at hand. So anyone that's a part of Acts 29 that wants coaching will get it from one of our planters or one of our pastors. And I would say no matter where you're at, whether you're a pastor of little, 10-person brand new church plant or a mega church, you have 5 to 10,000 people. There's someone within Acts 29 that's in your reality as well. So in the greater global family, I know that there are cohorts, groups of people that at different times are inviting others to a discussion. And if you need coaching, if you're a 5,000 person church and you're saying we need coaching around multiplying, around church planning, around doing this, then there's someone that's already doing that within the network. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. The 6th thing is support. Support. What's next for you might be support. And it's not primarily financial support, but this is the support of having us in the lives of one another. This is so important. I think money comes and goes, but it's the friendships and the brothers and the sisters that over the years are there for us that's so much more important. I definitely want people who are there for me more than a check coming in the mail. Really. Because a check coming in the mail doesn't love me, it doesn't care for me, it can't speak the gospel to me. It can provide some food for my table and for my family, but it can't do the work of the gospel that someone can minister to me. And this is what the network really is. It's this band, this family of brothers and sisters that are developing and discipling and encouraging and running with and after Jesus. So we're still building this as a relatively new network in Canada. We're still building this. What we want to do is we want to have areas, and we've already identified these, and we have the leaders in place for these to become a real thing. But we want to see areas across Canada that's saturated really with good support in place. As I mentioned, not just finances, but knowing that you have brothers and sisters there for you. We want to help care for your spouse if you're married as well. Not just have Acts 29 be a male-dominated thing, but how do we care for the spouses who feel sometimes even more the things that are going on within the church than the husband does. But we do want to. It's a little alarm that reminds me that God is still at work, that God is active and moving, and so I forgot to shut that off. But now you're reminded that God is still at work. He's active and moving, and so in this moment, I'm reminded that God is active and moving in your lives and that He's doing something. So let me get back onto our scheduled programming. Next time I should remind myself to shut off my reminders, but it's a good reminder. And I would encourage you that. Let me digress for a second. I would encourage you to be setting up reminders for yourself that God is at work in your midst. I have 6 alarms set all throughout the day with fun, exciting ringtones reminding me that God is at work, God is at work, God is at work. And I keep mentioning this because I'm assuming that loud noise from my phone picked up in the microphone. If it didn't, then you think I'm crazy and you have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's neither here nor there. We do want to financially support church plants. We have something called Church Planting Sunday. Actually, this year, because of COVID, we're moving it to several weeks. We're not calling it Church Planting Month, but we're having a month where we're focusing on church planting, and we want to support 6 or 7 church plants and to support them for like $6,000 or $7,000 each. And so hopefully on that day we'll be able to raise, or on those days we'll be able to raise about $42,000. So those are our things. You can pray, you can talk to your pastors. There's training, there's assessment, there's coaching, there's support. And lastly, the other. Is the Lord saying something outside of these things that He wants for you to actually move on? Is the Lord saying something outside of these? What is your next step? What is your next step? Take a few moments after the session is done and be praying, Lord, what is it that you want me to do next? Is it to plant a church? If so, where? How? With whom? Like, begin to answer these questions. Get in contact with us, acts29canada.com/thecalling. Say, I want to talk to someone about church planting, and we will do that. What questions do you have? Send us your questions. Send us your questions. There are lots of guys around Canada that would love to hop on a Zoom call. I know we're so zoomed out. We're so tired of these things. But yet at the same time, it's this beautiful gift of being able to see someone face to face, not just talk to them on the phone, and get to see the excitement and the expressions around planting and or the worry and the concern about, I think God's calling me to this, but I'm not quite sure how, and I'm not quite sure where I go from here. So I'm so grateful that you joined us. If you joined us for all 6 sessions, if you didn't, then you can go back and watch any of them. But I'm so thankful that you tracked with us during this time. Hopefully it's been really helpful for you. But if you know someone that you think is called to plant a church, if it's not you, but it's someone you know, would you pass this content along to them? Would you help them to get in contact with us or someone? I mean, there are other people out there, church planting, right? It's not just Acts 29 Canada, not by a long shot. And it's going to take more groups than just Acts 29 Canada to see Canada reach with the gospel. So would you please connect with someone about church planting? We're just offering this out as this primer for church planting. What's the Lord doing? So let me pray for you and for your life, and then we'll be done. And it'd be great for me to actually have a conversation with you, either in person or Zoom call, however we can make that work. Lord, thank you for the people who have been watching this. Thank you for the men and women who are processing this information right now. Holy Spirit, I pray that you would speak to their hearts. I can't do that, but you can. You can speak to their hearts. You can speak to their situation. You know exactly what's going on. Thank you for that reminder in the middle of this little talk, reminding us that you are at work, you are active, you are moving. Lord, would you be active and moving in the lives of these men and women? Would you help them to see your glory, help them see what's coming, what you want for them, what's in front of them, and would you take this little content that we've put together as an offering, and would you light it up inside of the hearts of men and women? And would we gladly lay down our lives for the good of our country and this world, that every man, woman, and child would have a regular interaction in word and deed with the gospel of Jesus Christ in Canada. May we see so many churches planted that would be the case. Would you help us to saturate your nation, your dominion with your gospel? We love you and we need you. Amen. Thanks again for tuning in, and please let us know of any way that we can serve you. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, whenever you're watching this content.